Static Shock number 7, written by Mark Bernardin, art by Scott McDaniel. We left off last issue with pretty much the end of the arc. Nothing significant really carries over. The only thing you need to know is that the sisters that were clones of each other came to terms and they coexist now. So this issue picks up with Static in medias res. He's fighting some giant robots and he's talking about, man, you think this is crazy. My day got even weirder as it went on. And then we just go back to 68 minutes earlier, where Virgil and his two sisters, Sharon and other Sharon, are going to Star Labs because the Sharons, despite the fact they came to terms with each other, they do actually want to find out which one of them is the original. Just for their own peace of mind, I guess. And Virgil tells them, like, that doesn't really matter, right? And they're like, yeah, but we need something for this story. So they all go to Star Labs, and the security guy checks in Virgil, and he's like, Virgil, you're a pretty swell dude. You might be running this place one day. And Sharon comments, like, yeah, Virgil, do you think you might one day run this place and give up any other things that you're doing? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I know your secret as Static. And Virgil's like, maybe, but let me get through high school first. So they arrive at Dr. Lewis's lab, is the best I can say it, and basically the whole plan is that they're going to bombard the sisters with some different tests or whatever, and it will definitely 100% super show which of them is original, or at least that they're different in some way. So then Static hears something and he's like, hey, you keep running the tests, I'm going to go check out what that is. And he sees the robots from the beginning of the issue terrorizing through the lab. He specifically says that if he puts a low-level charge through his uniform, it'll make him invisible to cameras, which I don't understand why that's necessary if he's in a costume anyway, but regardless, he does. And he sees the robots rampaging through. There's some scientists stuck in a fire, so he throws in a fire extinguisher and explodes it to save them. And the robots, through their rampage, end up collapsing this giant thing that was over top of the sisters. And the doctor says, like, look out! And only one of the sisters, like, reacts and pushes the other one out of the way. And she survives as well. They both survive. But as they sit there, they're like, wait a minute. We both heard him say look out, but only one of us reacted. That must mean we're actually different. Which that doesn't mean that. And I don't, like, that's the flimsiest. It's a dumb plot line. Regardless, it's the end of it. So he's making his way through and fighting the robots, but the electricity's bouncing off because they're just made for military grade. So I guess they're impervious to electrical attacks. And so he rethinks his battle plan, and he turns them into electromagnets to the point where they collapse in on themselves. And that's the end of that. So he goes to a computer terminal that launched them, and he finds out that they were programmed by some dude who just walked in here and is also wearing a costume and programmed to go crazy. So now he has to find that dude. And he goes through the Star Labs and he uses some techno mumbo jumbo to find out where the guy is. And he gets a call from his crush who's asking for help on trig homework. And he's like, yo, what up, girl? And he's like, oh, can you help me with my homework? He's like, I'm a little busy. How about I call you back, baby? And he's like, are you serious? Yep, talk to you soon. Click. And then we just never get back to that either. So that's a thing. So we see this safe room that even Static can't get into. The guy's inside of it, and he grabs this device, whatever it may be, and then phases through the bottom of the floor. So Static busts through the floor and starts giving chase, just blasting through walls while he's just walking through them. And he gives his name as Phase, Phayze, the Master of Density. And Static puts up a electric cage around him, and he's like, are you serious? Like, no, that's a stupid name. He's like, psh, whatever, nothing you could do to stop me. But then Static immediately, changes the charge of his molecular structure, therefore making it so he can't phase. And then that's it. He stopped him. So Static throws a punch and asks him, oh, is it really worth stealing it, whatever this thing is? And he's like, I was hired to steal that by a starving African village. That thing can make water out of thin air by combining hydrogen and oxygen. And they paid me all of their money to do it. And he's like, are you telling me you're some kind of Robin Hood? And he's like, no, they paid me. And I am just a thief. But it is for a good cause, right? And so Static calls up Hardware. And he's like, hey, Hardware, you built this thing, right? And this guy, he's stealing it and says it's for some starving African village to give them water. Is it cool if he takes it? And Harvard's like, yeah, sure, I got another one in the back room. And Static just goes, all right, here you go, kid. But you better take it where you say you're taking it. Otherwise, I will be back for you. And then that just wraps up. So Static goes talk to his sister and be like, hey, you guys get any answers on your test? And they're like, not really, but we got all the answers we needed. Yep. And then later that night, Sharon, and not other Sharon, but Sharon comes into the room to talk to Virgil and was like, hey, did you go all Static Shock today? And Static's like, close the damn door if you're going to just out with it. Jesus. And she's like, why do you be Static? Like, why do you take all those risks or whatever? And he explains how mom and dad raised him to always try his best. And his best is being a superhero. So why would he do anything less? And then the issue just ends. Okay, like, fine for a one shot. It's fine. You just, yeah, phase, cool, whatever. It's a good enough thing of, it's an actual, like, all right, is it okay for a bad guy to do a good thing via bad methods? Like, do the results cancel it out? I don't know. It's a good question to ask. This story barely asked it, but it was done well enough. My major problem with it is the entire Sharon thing of, I feel like Static works at Star Labs. We didn't have to have any reason for him to get there. He could just be there. But it feels like they felt there had to be some sort of reason Static was there in the first place. And it's like, no, he works there. Just let him be there. Why did we have to do this Sharon thing? It turned out to be nothing. It's annoying. I'm going to give this a 4. And a lot of that just comes down to the fact of the writing. The art is fine. It's nothing too bad. But, like, I'm really pissed off about, because I've always been pissed off about that Sharon thing. And just when they finally had the chance to drop it and just say, oh, now they're pretty much just twin sisters. It's like, no. But, like, actually, though, what if Clone Saga? Shut up.